Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our deep dive into this radical feminist book. It is a labor of hardness, I'd say, because some of her views I find to be abhorrently repugnant, and I wouldn't want to live in the world she would design. I hope she never becomes president, because it wouldn't be very fun. But going through word by word allows us to understand her philosophy and see what we can do about it, right? To come up with rebuttals. Let's begin. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Actually, that applies to a lot of successful women too. But successful women don't generally have access to a roster of beautiful, fragile 20-year-olds to tell them they're wonderful. Successful women don't have to be told that fame, money, and power don't buy you love. I mean, obviously they do, because she tells women, she really mocks men being the providers and sustainers of women. So, she was complaining that men weren't picking boss babes, okay? Because she just said right here, some men might balk, rightly so, at being told that they find independence, confidence, intelligence, and professional success unattractive in women. But then it's like she goes back and forth, okay? She gets mad that women have to be vulnerable, have self-sacrifice, that they're chosen for beauty, and that they should pick, she said that bisexual men like the idea of being with an older, more successful, more talented woman. How many heterosexual women want to have a husband who's getting his booty blown out, dumpster pumping? I don't really... What? I mean, that'd be kind of gross, but she apparently wants to make women be forced to be with that type. It's very weird. They find out pretty quickly, somewhere between the first round of death threats and the second time they watch their first date's face fall, when they reveal what they do for a living. Okay, let's look at this. Death threats. Women send other women death threats constantly. Okay, and women may not say, I'm going to do this to you, but tons of women, and who are cholias, like gangster bitches, they're constantly threatening. Women threaten men all the time. Women are crazy sometimes. I really resent how much some women pretend that women are not violent. If women were not violent, we wouldn't have prisons full. I just watched on Explore With Us, a woman who was in the Navy. She starved her 5-year-old daughter to death by locking her in a closet, and then disposed of her body in the woods, wrapped in a shower curtain. Okay? So, can we stop pretending, that women aren't capable of being threatening, or wishing death, or carrying out death sentences, please? Hello, Hillary Clinton. This sort of calculation is almost unthinkable to straight men, who are rarely required to change anything about themselves to appeal to the opposite sex. Now, that's just not true. See, she's doing her best to promote sodomy, she wants pillow biters to be with heterosexual women, and she thinks apparently that a lot of women desire men who are getting their backs blown out, right? I wonder, if you did a poll, how many women, if they found out their husband did homosexual acts in prison, would divorce? Really, whether they were pitching or catching. I really would be very curious to see such a study, because it makes them more feminine, more effeminate. Yeah, there's some, men who look like P. Diddy, right? P. Diddy, he's a homosexual. I'm not attracted to that at all, but he has a wife, so he's bisexual, right? So if you want to be with that, and Dr. Dre's also, so is Joe Rogan. These are open secrets that if you just do some basic research, you can see what they're doing. So I know that not every bisexual man is effeminate, but I think if you ask a non-gold digger woman if she wants that attached to her, if you know what she would think. But then again, TJ the Amazing Atheist is bisexual, Vosh is bisexual, Destiny the streamer is as well. So, but look at their attitude and behaviors. You know what I mean? But this is a lie to say that straight men don't have to change anything. How many men will get sober for their wives? How many will work on their anger management? How many will go to marriage counseling? How many will change their financial status, as in go get that money? How many will stop going to parties and clubbing? And how many will actually become religious? So they're changing something about themselves. But again, this is a nihilistic type of way of looking at it. Much less to diminish themselves. Diminish? Okay, so she thinks it's a diminishment to be a stay-at-home wife and to not chase a career. Men are the providers. Okay? So she's trying to contend. If you're a career woman and your husband wants you to step down from that and raise the children, you're diminishing yourself. But I don't know how many women would want to be the breadwinner. Stefan Molyneux, he's a stay-at-home dad. His wife makes more money, and that works for them. But I personally, if I had to go to work and my husband stayed home, I couldn't I couldn't handle that. No. I would feel repulsed. I would be making myself tired and exhausted to cater to a man. And he's not the nurturing one. I'm the one who's supposed to be taking care of the kiddos. And I need to do that. I need them to be around me. And he has his time. But I'm the main person here. I gave birth to them. I breastfed them. They're my little humans. And we need to have mommy and daughter time. Okay? That's what has to happen. It's not a diminishment to leave a classroom or to leave a regular job. I just don't see that. The movie, the Netflix series, The 3-Body Problem, really pushes careerism. It's kind of woke, in my opinion. But you're the smartest physicist ever. It's like, okay. The men are really reduced in that and the women are pushed up. Not to say that there can't be smart women, but I just don't see it. I don't see taking care of children and guiding their souls in this realm is something diminishing. There's nothing wrong with having that dynamic of a man taking care of the finances while you take care of the spiritual well-being of your children. If you're childless, that's totally different. Because you gotta find a way to fill your time. You gotta find a way to fill your time. So that's a different type of struggle. Narrowing their ambitions to fit inside the fragilities of a potential mate. Fragility, she says. Okay, so she contends when men have standards that they want to feel provided for. Think of the cartoon Courage the Cowardly Dog. There, Eustace cuts down a tree that grants all the wishes of Muriel because it provides all the needs, and he says, that's my job. And that's like one of the most realist lines ever, is the man wants to feel needed. And if you don't feel needed or wanted, and you don't get the satisfaction of as being a provider, it can hurt you. And what does she want? She wants men to then take a... Okay, pause here. Okay, look at this. We women benefit from men taking care of us in postpartum period. We benefit when our men want to go out and bring home the meat and potatoes, as they say for us. I get to be with my children and not have to be whipped back to work because my husband wants me to be able to have the opportunity to be with my children full time. Do you understand? Once men, like Pearly Things, was saying women should have a job. She grifted from saying women shouldn't work to now women are lazy if they don't. When men start to make us women work and our children are taken away by public schools and daycares, we don't fare very well. We lose. I want to be needed by my children. I want to be with my children. I don't give a damn about managers, customers. They can all go to hell. I don't care. I want to be with my children. I don't know when I'm going to return to Allah. Okay? Pieces of fiat currency are not going to replace my children. They're only small ones. I want to be with them. What if I get cancer, hit by a car, shot at? Who knows? I only get a certain amount of time. And I've been a telemarketer, a cashier, a fry cook, a hostess, a server, a bartender. I've done so many different jobs. None of them mean anything at all. No one remembers me anymore. None of them talk to me now. No customer is searching for me. No coworker is calling me. No manager is calling me. But my children are right there with me. Even when I go to the bathroom, my toddler is like banging on the door. I am in bed. My toddler climbs on me in the morning and is greeting me. That's more special. She thinks it's diminishing and that you have no ambition in life if you're a stay-at-home mom. And that if a man wants to provide for you, it's because he's fragile. Ask yourself, when you just gave birth, if a man's like, hey, you got 6 weeks, and you gotta get back to work, baby. But if he's like, no, you can stay home, I'll take care of you, I'll worry about everything. Here's some money for DoorDash, here's some money for coffee. I'll help you out. Don't worry, take your time to heal. Because not everyone has the female support system. A lot of families now, the husband has to pick up the weight of what a grandmother would have done. Okay? People don't have that now. And the men do quite a lot. I know my husband does quite a lot. When I was healing from my C-section, I'm not trying to like do hard labor while I have stitches. I had 7 layers cut through and my baby was pulled out of my body. Okay? It's horrible, but it's worth it. If men start being like, get up lazy, we would be definitely oppressed. So be careful of the picture she's painting for you here. It's when you're working in a corporate office with air conditioning and like one time I got a job offer to work in the financial district, and in the break room it's like pretty cool looking lunch stuff that's like included, and it was okay per hour, but when I configured how long the commute would be, paying the bridge every day, and you know, the crime in San Francisco, it wasn't worth it, and I didn't take the job. But I could have, and they had a cool like break room with like stuff and it's like food. It looks pretty cool. You could spend like it's long hours, right? You're like, I don't know. Basically gonna be living there. I won't get too much time with my kid. I had only one child at the time. I just don't see that as something that's gonna fulfill me. So it really depends. Really depends. Ambition is good, but ambitions that don't get fulfilled can make you sick. You can always change your ambitions as well. Think about it. The plain fact is that men are not obliged to choose between power, creative fulfillment, and independence and love. Okay. Let's look at this for a second here. Men, see, in Islam, that's why I really like the gender roles. Men are the caretakers of women. If we have to work, alright, we gotta do what we gotta do to survive. We become widows, we gotta do what we gotta do to survive. As long as it's halal. Okay? You can get creatively fulfilled by hobbies and having an online business and stuff like that. Independence isn't real. Because your health is gonna start to affect you. You know, you can lose your foot, you can get some type of horrible gangrene. So many terrible things can happen to you where you need someone to pick you up from the hospital, someone to care for you and love you. And the independence isn't really real. My grandma, she had her first kid really young. She's never had a job. She's always been a stay-at-home woman. She has the onset dementia now. My grandpa, he's 80 years old. He's still taking care of her. Like, he handles everything. She's not an independent woman. And he didn't put her in some nursing care home. He took on his marital vows, and he's doing it till death. He's not giving up. And he's 80 years old, blind in one eye, and walks with a cane, and had open heart surgery. And he's still taking care of his woman as a man. And he still will try to drive a cab if he can. It's really, my grandpa is like a machine. He just keeps going. Alright? So, imagine if my grandpa said to her, go be an independent woman. She's old now. She can't do that. My mom had that very independent lifestyle. She had 6 abortions, 4 kids by different men, lives in welfare. She has over 5 cats, drinks a liter of soda every day, is bipolar, so she's on a bunch of meds, has chronic depression, and has tried to end her life several times. And she doesn't want to marry a man, and I don't think she qualifies anymore for a man, to be honest. She's an independent woman in her view, but she's always complaining about being lonely. She doesn't have love. She doesn't have love, and she made that bed. She worked in the sex industry, became burnt out and jaded and black-pilled on men because she saw their darkness. Okay. And what did it get her? She was rolling in money when she was younger. Stunning. It's just absolutely gorgeous woman. Money poured on her. And she ended up where? How many women will have that? Because the women underestimate the trauma of the sex industry. They think that no man is gonna go weird or crazy. And then they do, and now you have that trauma. And then it happens again. And again. And then you get dead inside. And you just become so cynical that there's nothing that can pull you out from it. So she's independent. Doesn't need a man. But she's on the government assistance. So you're not independent. And at a certain age, you have to ask yourself, what is going on here? What is life about? Right? It would have been better for her to never have done those things and to have found a good man, because she had plenty of options when she was beautiful and young. Men were falling at her feet. She was beautiful. She turned them all down. Kept doing sex work. Kept drinking. Kept smoking crack. Literally. Kept doing cocaine. Now look. It's just totally wild. Be careful out there, ladies. A lot of the things these feminists are telling you, years from now you'll see, I'm so glad I didn't listen to them when I was impressionable. Women are and always have been, but the calculations that go into that choice are changing. It is no longer so likely as it was for our grandparents' generation that a straight woman's entire well-being depends on securing male affection. I'm sorry, it will and always will. I need my mate, who I'm giving access to my body, right? I need him to have affection for me in order to treat me well. If I don't have affection for him, the favors I will do will be capped. Why? Because there's a boundary, there's a limit. I am not just a vessel everyone gets to scoop water out from. Okay? Affection is earned. Respect is earned. I will give you basic human dignity until you prove otherwise. But obviously, if my husband secures my affection, I'm going to do more. I'm going to jump through more hoops. I won't feel as jaded for doing favors. You understand? obviously when you have a bond, you're going to have someone take care of your needs more. This is common sense. You need your man to like you, so he wants to take care of you. How many women? There was a viral crime where a woman was poisoning her husband's coffee drip by drip every day, and he noticed and he started installing a camera to film her. She hated him, and she tried to poison him to get his life insurance. So he did not have her affection, and his well-being was being threatened by the lack of affection. Do you understand? When you live with someone, you need to secure their affection. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if they will love you. But you need to be cordial, hospitable, and harmonious. Divorces happen when affection leaves, because you no longer care about their well-being. Alright? A child, when the parent doesn't care about their well-being, and there's no affection going on, it ends in tragedy, doesn't it? You need... And also, this woman is so stupid. If you want to look at it from a nihilistic or evil angle, an occultic angle, the woman who is liked way more by the man will have more leverage in the relationship. She can even use intimacy as a weapon, because when she denies him, he will long for it, and he'll do more favors because she has secured his affection entirely, and he will do things for her that if others found out, they would be embarrassed for him. A man who is cold-hearted towards his woman, she can't manipulate him, she can't bend him to her will, she can't get as much as she wants. Do you understand? This woman is an idiot. She has no sexual dynamism. She has no sexual allure. She doesn't even understand true femininity. She's too busy promoting anal sex with men and neglecting what it really does mean to be a woman. She's jaded because she dedicated her life to careerism and materialism and hates religion. Remember, in the past section, she's totally against Christianity and the values it has, which also applies to Islam, by the way. And so she doesn't see the bonus points of women securing male affection. Now, affection is temporary. Obviously, divorces happen. You can't keep someone's affection forever, nor can you force them to have that feeling for you. But when you know your man cares about you to some degree, he's going to be kinder to you. How many women will say, he doesn't fulfill my emotional needs? Okay, he's not doing that because you haven't secured his affection. And having sex with him doesn't automatically mean you've secured his affection. The way into a man's heart is simple, yet at the same time, it's a mystery. So examine her statement here fully. Examine it. What is she saying? It is not strictly true that confident, accomplished straight women who are old enough to have invested in a decent mattress are entirely unable to find someone to share it. Okay, so a decent mattress, this is making fun of the futon men. I slept on a futon when I was little at my dad's house. My husband bought me one of the best mattresses I've ever had in my life when I was pregnant with our second kid. I've never had a mattress that good. It's a good mattress, alhamdulillah. And he cared about me sleeping on that while pregnant, you know, because our old one, it wasn't very good and it was really uncomfortable. You'd wake up with kind of pains from where those, what do they call those? The springs. This one is like almost memory foam, so it's more helpful. So examine how she's mocking the men, and she thinks that them being financially stable is the end-all be-all. It's such a lie, because I believed this for so long, but I'm so glad that I had a child in my early 20s, because it's such a lie. because you end up thinking as a woman you can't get a man unless you go to college and have a house and a car. That lady from Roma Army, she told men, stop dating broke women. And I was like, what? Honey, you did porn. I've actually seen the evidences. I was on this app called MeWe, and someone had shared it in a political satire group. And I was like, what is this? And I saw it was her, and I was like, oh, and I changed it. It's annoying how many people post inappropriate stuff in political discussion groups. But she also does sexy pictures. She has 2 kids by 2 different men, and she's not with any of the fathers. And she posts things on her Patreon of like sexy pictures, and she has a boyfriend. So she's not someone you should take marriage advice from. Life advice, especially when you got an upside down cross tattoo on your throat. I don't know, people who get throat tattoos, geez, what's going on here? And she's obviously really mentally traumatized when you look at her history. But she was telling men, don't date broke women. And it's like, honey, you got your money from being a harlot and promoting degeneracy. A sweet, young, virgin village girl who came from a decent family and who knows how to be a housewife. And someone who wants to be a mom. She's obviously deserving to be picked. Just because she doesn't have a bunch of money from simps online doesn't mean she shouldn't be dated by a man. And even if she isn't a virgin, but she comes from a decent family, she's learned from her mistakes, she's repented, she's not like 70 bodies deep, she can still be a good enough person, I'd argue. Money doesn't mean as a woman you're gonna be a good mom. Very important. A woman being rich doesn't mean she's gonna be a good, attentive, loving, open-legged wife. Okay? Money changes you as a woman because it's like you become this dragon. You become this sort of... You look at a man differently. The way I looked at my husband when I was working, making good money, and now being a stay-at-home wife where I'm 100% dependent on him, it changes the way you look at him. I definitely feel more feminine now that I don't have to be working all freaking day with morons. There are options, but many of them are unappealing or actively dangerous. Nor is it the case that straight and bisexual women don't want romantic partnerships with men. Most of them do, but crucially, not as much as the things they might have to give up to get one. Okay, so everyone has to give up something. Don't forget that. You have to. That is life. When you go to work, you say, I only want to work this hours. So many times. Oh my god. I can't tell you how many times I'll tell a boss I have to be gone by 3:30. 3:30 shows up, can you stay till 4:30? Can you stay till 4? So-and-so is late. And you're like, hey man, my schedule is my schedule. We talked about this. We signed the papers. I have to go. Oh, how many times they'll push and push and push. You set boundaries, and then you have to give up your boundaries in order to keep the job. Okay? So let's not pretend you don't have to give up stuff in order to get a job. Okay? Let's just keep that clear. You have to sacrifice some things in life. You have to. He's gonna have to give up things. That's a healthy relationship. If he used to be sinning, he has to give up those sins, right? He has to not do that. And later on, the woman is usually gonna request him to stop doing something. How many women do this? Can you please leave your shoes outside? Can you please do this? Can you not do that? Women are constantly telling their men not to do certain things. It's just part of marriage. There's a lot of comedic elements to that. And those men are like, okay. Like, it's not a big deal. They just stop doing it. A lot of it is when people come over to the house. Like, a woman will be cooking and her husband will be like, so-and-so is coming over. And she'll be like, right now? The house is a mess. why didn't you tell me? I have to get everything cleaned up now. Can you? And then she'll tell him later, can you please let me know, or can you just have them not come over and you can go out and meet them at like somewhere else, not bring them here. Like, he'll have to give up just having his cave where he can just invite his bros over. Do you see what I'm saying? Everybody has to give up something. Okay? If a man is addicted to watching porn and a woman says, you have to give that up in order to be with me, he had to give up something that he gets a lot of pleasure from. You see, if a woman is smoking weed all day, taking edibles, she's smoking 3 blunts a day, and the guy says, you have to stop doing this in order to be my woman, because I'm not going to support your weed habit. I'm not giving you money for that. And if you get lung cancer, you know, I don't really want to have to deal with that. You name it. I don't want someone smelling like weed 24/7. And perfume mixed with weed, you still smell like weed. Yeah? And with the weed breath. I want a sweet smelling honey mouth. Please. She has to give that up. So no matter what, giving something up doesn't automatically mean that you are being abused. You have to give up stuff to become a better person. You have to. When you both have a child, you both have to give up things in order to preserve that child. This woman is a moron. Most of my single, accomplished, confident female friends have a pretty accurate idea of why they're not fighting off eligible men. The trouble is that these things that put men off are the things that they like most about themselves. So look at this. This language is smart. So obviously she's not accomplished and has a low self-esteem if she wants to depend on a man. No. That's the opposite. When you trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you make this noble sacrifice to be with your children, not to free mix with men, you're doing a noble deed. Not having a work husband. Okay? A lot of women, they don't want to admit, I'd argue, that when you work with a man who's handsome, it's very hard to focus. And the sexual tension is too high, and you start having lustful thoughts, and it's a problem. When you work with pot-bellied, bald, stinky mouth men, it's not hard at all. It becomes very difficult when your candy walks in and you're like, that's the new hire, and you just catch yourself looking, and maybe you had a fight with your husband and you're feeling kind of hormonal and edgy. You gotta be careful, man. It's so sad. It's really hard. I've seen tons of men, unfortunately, flirt with like the hostess who's like single and young, and their wife, you know, if that girl was just married and wasn't at that job, it would be better. Yes, men should control themselves, but when men and women work in an environment together, it's always sex brought up. Some women are extremely vulgar at work, and I think to myself, this is disgusting. You know, the things I've seen in restaurants are just like, this is hell. Makes you not think anyone can be trusted, and makes me want to beg for a theocracy where people are stoned for adultery. Because it jades your heart. Either you accept it and become a deviant sexual pervert, or you start to lose hope that people can be faithful in relationships. It's shocking. It's shocking. So, if you know you have a high sex drive, you struggle with your gaze, it's better for you just to stay in your house. Avoid that allure. And stop giving eye contact to those men. You know, because some men peacock. And they like teasing. So you have to be careful. There are men and women who don't care about the rules of marriage. And they don't care about hunting married men and women. You know, so you gotta be smart. So, you're not lacking self-confidence if you sacrifice things for your relationship. accomplishment is something that varies. And it's never enough. One of the best lessons I learned in my life is you go to a top school, people will be like, yeah, but what's your major? And then, how many degrees do you have? Okay, how many summits have you gone to? Like, the goalpost is always moving because people are trying to constantly reduce your success. And who really is enjoying your success is no one. No one really cares. The braggadocious arrogance of success ruins a lot of people to where they turn into a villain. You gotta be careful. How you measure accomplishment is gonna be different. Islam, we are accomplishing something if we're doing good deeds and earning favor and nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you, like Kanye West, he thinks he's accomplished because he's rich, and he left Christianity, not that he ever really was a Christian in my opinion, and now he's doing an adult entertainment website. His kids were born as surrogates. He married Kim Kardashian, who is not a housewife, and there's a lot wrong with her. And she's a very bad role model. So I don't consider him successful at all. He's a mentally unstable, demon-possessed degenerate. But people who like his music will say he's successful, but in a spiritual sense, he's fallen. He's not successful because he got spanked by the Jays for disrespecting, and he had to go on an apology tour. You see what I mean? Like, Nick Fuentes probably thinks he's successful because he got to kick it with Kanye and go to Waffle House. No, I don't find that as success. Some people would define accomplishments as how many platforms can you get banned from. I don't call that accomplishment. I don't even think follower counts are accomplishments because a lot of them are bots and you can buy them. And we all know YouTube controls everything. So how can you know what is a true meritocracy if the playing field is controlled? It's like, how can you be a champion when the coaches, or the people who own the teams can rig it? If something is rigged, you can't take accomplishments for it. It doesn't mean anything. You can't really be a true champion in a rigged game because it's set up. So, universities, why do they get to tell us who's accomplished? Self-worth doesn't just come from fiat currency. Like, Andrew Tate is richer than me, but I don't consider him accomplished. Sorry. I don't blame him for having money, but the way he got his money with porn, and he has some casino businesses, that's not accomplishment to me. Because you spread evil in the world. You're spreading evil. You're accomplishing spreading evil. May Allah guide him to do better, right? Because he's supposedly a brother in faith. But I see some scholars of Islam as accomplished in, like, each day learning something. When I see a woman who has 4 healthy, happy children, and she's doing her best to nourish them, I think that is an accomplishment. You see? If someone has a successful 40-year marriage, that's an accomplishment to me because they worked out their problems. You know, there's different ways to measure it, so be careful of letting the LinkedIn CEO boss babes brainwash you into thinking you are not a great woman if you want to be a homemaker and have children. Be wise. A lot of them are addicted to edibles and dildos. That's not a fun way to be. They're swiping and swiping on Tinder, risking their health to hook up with guys who could care less if they died. Like, every time you consent to sex, you're consenting to STDs. And then they don't have any shame. If they got herpes and gonorrhea and syphilis all at the same time, they'll still call themselves empowered. It's wild. Be careful, man. A lot of these feminists are very twisted, sick individuals. That's why they have to do a lot of censorship. That's why they have to preserve their echo chambers. That's why they all have to be on anon accounts and dox and harass and deplatform and do bot raids, because they can't stand ground to ground anymore. Because us women, I think at the end of the day, you know the truth. When you've put your high heels in the closet, hung up your suit, and as the wine starts to come in, the cognac, the vodka, the gin, and your thoughts start swirling, you start craving a real affection, not raunchy porn affection, but someone who actually likes you. You know, be careful, lest you turn into, a villain. Watch out for them. Watch out. So remember, she's pushing the idea of that men like older women who have monetary success and who are super talented. Okay? She's pushing women to date bisexual men. Okay? So she is pushing sodomy. She is pushing for what she thinks is true equality, and for women to not be dependent on a man. There's nuances. Nothing wrong with having side hustles or some type of job you can fall back on. There's tons of jobs that don't require a college degree that you can do. You can be nifty and swifty with it, but you just have to be smart. Knowledge can be gained very easily now. There's tons of jobs you can do from home. There's a balance. Okay? And remember, she contended here that she said successful women don't have to be told that fame and money and power don't buy you love. She literally, as I mentioned, is contending that men should want the careerist boss babe. So oftentimes she has one statement on one page and on the other is another one. Sometimes I wonder if this is just her diary. I really do. Because she is very chaotic in her ideas. I wonder what it would look like, if she stopped promoting anal and stopped trying to destroy marriages and religion, and if she just went to some tribe in Africa where there was patriarchal gender roles and outside of the Abrahamic threshold, because she has a big problem with Abrahamic religions. So I wonder what she would think, what it would feel like to have a masculine heterosexual man who provides. But this woman, I don't think, is someone who should be a mom. Her mindset is so dark and so unhealthy and inverted that I think she'd be more of a threat to little girls and boys. I wouldn't let her around my kids. These are the type of women you don't want teaching your children. And this is why it's important for me to go through this text. We become familiar with their language. We see their arguments. And when we're old, like 60, the younger generations are coming up, we can have answers ready for them. And understand the talking style of these feminists so that we're not caught by surprise in some ambush interview or something like that. To stand on principle with a diligent mindset. But again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never let those who plot evil succeed. So what she promotes, it's only working for a limited time, if it even is working. Let me know what you think. What are some of your thoughts? And if you'd like to support my content, I'm not monetized. I don't have a join button or anything. You can do so via my blog, where I also write other refutations, which is www.subscribestar.com/Milahan. Hope to see you there.